Here's an expanded, flowing rewrite of the entire script as a seamless narrative. No headings, no breaks, just continuous storytelling for narration, e.g., YouTube voiceover. I've kept the dramatic, cinematic style, sensory details, and escalating revenge arc while smoothing transitions, tightening repetitive phrasing, and making it feel like one cohesive, gripping tale from start to finish. I'm Sebastian Hayes, and it started at 6 a.m., with my heart slamming against my ribs from the crash of sledgehammers outside. No coffee yet, still in yesterday's wrinkled boxers, eyes gritty from zero sleep. I bolted barefoot onto the cold concrete driveway and froze. There was Karen Whitfield, our HOA's self-appointed water tyrant, grinning wide with her clipboard hoisted like a victory flag while her crew demolished my $3,200 rainwater tanks. Metal shrieked as it buckled. 800 gallons of clean, harvested rainwater blasted straight into the storm drain like it meant nothing. She smirked like she'd just saved the neighborhood from some catastrophe. It felt like a punch to the stomach. That wasn't just money down the drain. It was a full year of careful work keeping our hidden community garden alive, the only reliable water source for 30 seniors who rely on those fresh vegetables to stretch their fixed incomes and manage health issues like diabetes and arthritis. She had no clue she'd just starve a bunch of grandparents and picked a fight with a quiet, off-grid electrician who absolutely despises bullies. Payback was already brewing, and it was going to get brutal. Stick around. You won't believe how this ends. 6 months earlier, I thought moving to Willowbrook was a fresh start after a messy divorce. I'd traded a cheating ex for a modest 3-bedroom ranch and dreams of growing decent tomatoes. My grandfather survived the Dust Bowl by catching every drop he could, so when I learned Texas law fully protects rainwater harvesting, I dove in. 3 months of weekends building an 800-gallon setup, custom gutters, food-grade tanks, first flush diverter to dump initial dirty runoff, UV sterilization, so it stayed potable quality. The ping of rain on aluminum gutters, the click of PVC fittings locking in place. It was pure satisfaction, even if it cost $3,200 in every spare hour. Here's the sneaky part one never advertised. Behind a cluster of mailboxes sat 2 acres of community garden run by Beverly Palmer, a retired teacher with a green thumb and a big heart. 30 seniors tended plots there, harvesting enough produce to save $40 a week on groceries they could barely afford. Mrs. Patterson's tomatoes helped control her diabetes. Mr. Rodriguez's peppers eased his arthritis. These weren't hobbies, they were survival. I quietly buried 100 feet of PVC from my tanks to their irrigation lines. Anonymous supply, no credit taken. For 2 years, those ugly barrels secretly provided 70% of their water. The earthy smell of wet mulch blending with the low hum of my sterilizer became my favorite evening soundtrack. Then, Karen noticed. Karen Whitfield, real estate agent, HOA president for 6 years, destroyer of solar panels, killer of swing sets, enforcer of beige perfection. She lived in a 4,500 square foot monument to conformity and treated property values like scripture. What I learned later explained a lot. Her husband's dental practice owed $180,000 in back taxes. Their McMansion was mortgaged to 95% value. She was desperate, and she targeted anything eco because she believed green features lowered curb appeal and attracted the wrong kind of people. Her weapon, selective enforcement. Native plants became fire hazards. Solar arrays got cited for glare, even when they faced north. The pattern was blatant. The certified letter arrived on a Tuesday, crisp and threatening. Aesthetic violation, $200 daily fine, 48 hours to comply. I showed up to the board meeting armed with permits, Texas Water Code Section 11, 101, which makes harvesting a legal right, and photos of approved systems elsewhere. Karen sat behind her folding table like a queen, flanked by her compliant board members, barely glancing up from her nails. County permits don't override HOA covenants, she declared. These industrial eyesores hurt values and invite undesirables. The room tasted like stale coffee and rising fury as neighbors watched her perform. Then she got personal. Maybe this will teach you to think twice about your hippie science projects. Some residents need to learn their place. Silence fell. Even her lapdogs shifted. She'd just shown her hand. This wasn't about rules. It was about crushing the new guy who dared help without asking permission. Walking to my truck that humid night, the sweet scent of tomato vines drifted from the garden she'd never bothered to notice. Those plants were about to wither. 30 people were about to go hungry. All because Karen couldn't stand someone quietly doing good. She thought certified letters and fines would scare me into submission. She didn't know how stubborn an electrician gets when you threaten his work or threaten vulnerable people. I dug into the law and smiled for the first time since the sledgehammers. Texas doesn't just allow rainwater collection. State environmental code actively overrides conflicting local rules, including HOA covenants. Her threats were toothless, but she doubled down anyway. Day 2 of the compliance window, she showed up at my door with 2 board members like backup security, waving a thick folder. "We're prepared to file an injunction," she announced loud enough for the street to hear. "Our legal counsel says aesthetics trump your supposed rights." I almost laughed. Her counsel was probably her cousin who does divorces. I started recording on my phone. "Interesting," I said. "You've never complained about Jim's above-ground pool or Patricia's visible solar panels. Both clear violations." "Different how?" Her mask cracked. "This community has standards. Some residents need to understand their place." There was pure control-free confession on tape. That afternoon, I documented every ignored violation in the subdivision. Giant satellite dishes, boats in driveways, oversized sheds. Meanwhile, the garden suffered. Without my water, Beverly's crew bucket water by hand. I watched 78-year-old Mrs. Patterson struggle with a gallon jug, her arthritic hands shaking, and rage tightened my chest. Karen was hurting real people to flex power. I filed a formal complaint with the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, then dug into Karen's public records. Ethical complaints on her real estate license, tax liens, desperate refinances. She wasn't just petty, she was broke and cornered. Her next move: a fake citation for excessive water use during drought. Ironic, since my system conserves city water. I called Beverly and laid it all out. The buried line, the threats, the dying garden. Her voice cracked. "Sebastian, 30 families depend on this. Mrs. Rodriguez hasn't afforded fresh veggies since her husband passed. Mr. Thompson lives on canned soup because his diabetes meds eat his budget. This is survival." The responsibility settled heavy. This wasn't about my barrels anymore. Karen had attacked the most vulnerable in our community. Phase 2 began. I researched deeper and found gold. The subdivision's 1987 charter required encouraging water conservation as essential environmental stewardship. Karen's actions violated the HOA's own founding rules. Janet Morrison, a retired city council member who'd been watching quietly, confirmed it. Board members have fiduciary duties. Personal targeting and bad faith enforcement open them to serious liability, potentially personal assets, not just HOA insurance. Then the human toll mounted. Mrs. Patterson collapsed from heat exhaustion hauling water. Paramedics loaded her as Karen peeked from her blinds and vanished. Mrs. Rodriguez ended up hospitalized with malnutrition complications at 83, forced to choose between blood pressure pills and food. Karen's desperation peaked with bribery. An unsigned envelope on my doorstep with her card and a note offering $2,000 reimbursement plus future immunity if I removed the system voluntarily, complete with a gag clause. In her office, reeking of fake vanilla and panic, she slid paperwork across the desk. "A fresh start," she said. I asked, "What happens to the community garden when my water disappears?" Her face blanked. "What community garden?" I spelled it out. 2 acres feeding 30 seniors you nearly killed because my tanks offended you." She whispered she thought it was just decorative landscaping. I left the contract untouched. Thanks for the confession. Educational. That same day, Beverly, armed with research, filed her own state complaint. The walls closed in. Janet uncovered the charter's unamended environmental protections and Karen's exclusive development rights on common areas, meaning she stood to pocket $250,000 commission by killing the garden, declaring it a failed liability, and pushing luxury townhomes. She wasn't ignorant. She'd calculated murder for profit. I rebuilt bigger. 1,200 gallons, solar-powered pumps, cellular monitoring, uploading flow data hourly, motion sensors in fake birdhouses, HD cameras with cloud backups. If she touched it again, felony evidence in 4K. Tom the plumber helped make it bulletproof. Beverly organized door-to-door education. Karen's conflicts, the seniors suffering, legal rights under the charter. We prepped for elections with proper notice to maximize turnout. The trap sprung at 2:47 a.m. Alerts woke me. Karen creeping my yard with a crowbar, muttering about illegal surveillance, trying to smash monitors. Cameras caught every swing. Police arrived. She was arrested for criminal mischief on live footage while under investigation. Her bail hearing was brutal. The judge saw harassment, not protection. The community mobilized. Petitions, media coverage of hospitalized seniors, a viral story of a corrupt president starving elders for profit. Her press conference backfired spectacularly. She admitted development plans and sneered about undesirable elements, providing racist soundbites that tanked her. Election day crushed her. Record turnout obliterated her board slate by 70% plus. Janet presented the full corruption file. Seniors confronted her live on camera. She fled screaming about lawsuits she couldn't afford. 6 months later, the garden thrives, expanded to 4 acres, raised beds feeding 100 families year-round. The new board passed an environmental bill of rights protecting rainwater, solar, natives. Hospital visits for garden seniors dropped 42%, saving thousands in medical costs. My system became a model. Neighbors installed their own. Karen lost her license, paid massive fines and restitution, faced probation barring HOA roles, and her family lost the mansion to foreclosure. She works a low-wage admin job now, while civil suits from affected seniors loom. We built something better from her ashes: a water conservation festival, awards, a community resilience center offering nutrition classes, and HOA rights help. The sweet scent of basil and tomatoes fills the air again, mixed with laughter from kids in chemical-free play areas. My monitors hum quietly, tracking abundance instead of defending against sabotage. This went viral because it proves bullies only win when good people stay silent. Document everything, organize, fight with facts, and even the most entrenched tyrant falls. Hit subscribe for more chaotic neighborhood stories. Comment, what's the wildest HOA nonsense you've dealt with? Best one gets a shout out next video. Disclaimer, this is a fictionalized narrative inspired by real-life themes for entertainment. Any resemblance to actual people or events is coincidental.